So where you are, I'm gonna have you sit at that desk over there. Mm-hmm. Thank you, sweetie. Because I need this chair. I need this chair to help me. See, let me see. Can I bring it up? Okay. Get some juice out. How's your brother and your sister? How did you spend your last week?
I was sick.
Oh, sorry. Your mom told me you had a tummy ache or something really, really bad. Did you eat something bad? Okay. Okay. And you said when you finished school, you can do that. Yes, you can. So you want to work in the labs? Okay, awesome. Well, I have to have you one day talk to my husband. He's a chemist at ExxonMobil, but he works with chemicals. But same or similar. What's today? Today is the okay. So what I want to do, Braylon, is I'm going to write down notes. I'm going to have you to write down notes on what you learned and what you didn't learn today. And then we're going to start at the very bottom of your assessment here. Yes. So we're going to start with the basic operations here. And that is division, addition, multiplication. So we're going to start with that. And then we'll move it on up to fractions. Okay? All right. So let me see the paperwork that Miss Gatson gave you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so number one, we're working on fractions today. Where's my eraser? Let's erase this. All right, so it says recipe cup for 5 3/4 cups of flour. Brian has only 2 3/8 cups left in the bag. How much more does he need? So the operative word is left. If we're trying to figure out how much more did he have left, that is speaking to what? Subtraction. Very good. It speaks to subtraction. Okay. Number 2. Steve is taking the path shown by the sign above. If he averages 2½ miles per hour, how many hours it will take him to reach to the trail? Okay, so when we speak to the operative word many, it's speaking to what? Addition. And we're gonna double check these, okay? Alrighty, a restaurant ordered 15 3/4 pounds of almonds. The nut supplier sent 1/2 of the order. How many pounds of almonds did the supplier send? Okay, so it speaks to, in this situation, Many again, but um, the order was 1/2 of 15 3/4. So you're speaking of dividing. Kim driving class lasts 3/4 of an hour. How many classes can she take in 4.5 hours? Okay, very good. Number 3 speaks of time. All right. So let's do some warm-ups here. It is back to you. You know what? Let me hold on to it. I'm gonna grade it. I put a grade on it and I give it back to you. Okay, so we have one addition, one subtraction, one multiplication, one division. I want you to do those 4 problems. This is just a warm-up. And you can turn your chair around. Let's bring this out. I want you to be comfortable. Okay. Alrighty. There you go. And I'll give you 5 minutes. And I'm gonna take a picture of every time before I move on to another subject. So that way you'll have a better view of what I'm doing. Oh, that was you. Come on. Why did it sound off like that? Okay. Okay, I want you to come to the board and I want you to work out the problem. Come, come, come. Work out number one, work it out, write the problem here, and work out your math. Okay. All right, so 54 into 98 goes how many times? Okay, so one above the 8. Okay, so erase the 6. And we know that, no, put the 6 back up. Okay, what number will give you a times that would equal 346? So you got to kind of use your scratch area over here. So try 54 times 4. Let's go there. Okay, 54 times 6. Okay. Okay, so 6 times. So 6. Mm-hmm. The remainder of. Mhm. Now we can check our work. What is 54 times 16? You can do that on your calendar, on your calculator.
54 times 16.
Mm-hmm. $18.25. 18.25. So that means, let me rework it. Okay, you can take a seat, sweetie. 18. Okay, so if we have 54 divided by 986, and 54 into 98 goes one time, and we have 54, and we have 44. Okay, there we go. And then we have 6, and then if we say 54 times 8, 4 times 8 is 32, 4, 43, 432. Okay, so it's 8. 8 times 54 is 432. 432. So now we have 14. Right? Let's look at this. What is it getting 25 from? 54 times 18. 972 plus 14. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So it's 18 remainder of 14. So it's 18 remainder of 14. Okay, that's pretty good. I think where you made your mistake right here is you, yeah, and this should have been a 9. So the reason why I have you to come up here and do this is because your writing clarity. I want to give you some writing exercises so you can have some more writing clarity. Okay. because it's important in your profession, you know, that you have writing clarity, that you be able to write clearly where other people can understand what you're writing. Okay? Alrighty, so this is good. This is good. So we got warmed up here. So let's start with basic fractions. Are you comfortable with divisions? You want a little bit more work with divisions? Okay, I need a little bit more work with divisions. Okay, so now let's look at fractions. We're going to look at adding fractions. Okay, and I'm going to remember to give you some division homework. That's my little reminder. Okay, let's find some in the book here. Did you bring your GED book? No, okay, you got one though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, do you want to take a break and get something to drink? Okay. Operations with fractions. Let's turn right to it. Okay, so what I want you to do with your phone is take a picture of these pages. Take a picture of this one, and this one, this one, and this one, this one, and this one. Okay?
Take a picture of these.
Back in front of each one. Back in front of each one. Would you care for some watermelon? You sure? I barely touched them, but they're good. Mm. Mm-hmm. Okay, you ready? Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we're going to start off with adding and subtracting fractions. All right, Jesus. All right, so adding and subtracting can only be performed in the same kinds of objects. You can add dollars to dollars, you can add inches to inches, but not dollars to inches. This is also true of fractions. If you want to look at your picture, you can. While I'm reading it, you can look at your picture. I'm on page 489. Follow me on your picture page. Uh-huh. Okay. You can add or subtract only like fractions. Like fractions. Those with the same or common denominator. You can add, I'm at the last sentence, or subtract only like fractions. Those with the same or common denominator. Okay? All right, so using like fractions that are the same or common denominator. Okay, so let's look at the buildup of a fraction or the anatomy of a fraction. We know that the top number is called a what? Nope. The top number is called a numerator. Numerator and denominator. Okay, so the top is known as a numerator, the bottom is known as a denominator. We know that the denominator has to be same or similar, that is in common with a factor. Okay, so let's list some factors here. Factors can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on and so on, right? Okay. All right. So let's look at the next paragraph. It says, with like fractions, add or subtract the numerators and write the answer over the common denominator. If necessary, reduce the answer to the lowest term. Do you know what that means by reducing to the lowest term? Kinda. Okay. Now, if necessary, reduce the answer to the lowest term. Rewrite an improper fraction as a whole or mixed number. So here's an example. We're going to add, so I'm going to write in green or maybe purple. Maybe I do it in purple. I like writing in color because I feel writing in color will help you follow what I'm saying. Okay, and it kind of set things apart and highlight certain things. Would you agree? Do you see this a lot better in color? Okay, if I wrote it all in blue, would it kind of confuse you? Okay, okay. All right, so let's do this. We're going to add, I'm going to circle this off so we'll have room to do our work. We're going to add 3/8 plus 4/8. Okay? So you add the numerators, I'm sorry. Write the sum of the numerators over the denominator. So let's go back to something. Remember the sentence structure that we wrote, that we said that the denominator, is this a denominator? Is this a denominator? Are they the same or similar? They are exactly the same. So anytime before you add or subtract, you have to make sure that your denominators are the same or similar. So in other words, you're looking at this is what? The same, right? So it makes us do our work very easy, right? So what is the next step that we have to do? Add the numerators. Very good. So if we add the numerators, what would be our answer? 7/8. Check. That would be our answer. Very, very good. Now, let's subtract. We're going to subtract 2 over 12 from 11 over 12. Okay? Are our denominators same or similar? Same. Okay. So we're going to subtract this. Alrighty. So we have 2 over 12 subtracted from 11 over 12. So it says here, remember the order of the numbers in subtraction. The fraction being is on the left. This is how we rewrite it. Does this now make sense? Down and get 9 twelfths. 9 twelfths. Okay, now what does in common for a factor? And you have to remember a factor is a number. What number do they have in common? Well, not really. 9 can go into 12, but it's going to leave a remainder. Can 1 go into 9 evenly without a remainder? Can 1 go into 12 without a remainder? Can 2 go into 12 without a remainder? You sure? 2 can't go into 12? How many times can 2 go into 12? 6 times. 2 can go into 12 6 times. But can 2 also go into 9 without a remainder? No. So that's not in common. So it has no remainder, so it's even, right? 3 times 3 is what? 9. Okay, now 3 into 12. Can 3 go into 12? So 9 has something in common with 3. Pay attention. And 12 has something in common with 3. It can both, 3 can go into 9 and 12 evenly without any problem, right? Is that fair? Okay, very good. So now we're going to write right here 9 over 12. So if 3 goes into 9, how many times? You said 3 times? And 3 goes into 12, how many times? 4 times. So our answer reduced is 3/4. That makes sense? Okay, so finding the common factor is saying I need to find a number that will go between the numerator and the denominator. Does that make sense? I have to make a remainder. Take a picture of this and then we'll move on. Good. Are you sleepy? No? Okay. Just checking. All right, so let's erase this. Let's erase this. Okay, let's look at another problem. Okay, so unlike fractions have denominators, have different denominators. You can read along with me on page 489. You see it? Okay. Find a common denominator and change one or both of the fractions to make like fractions. Add or subtraction, rewrite it as a whole or mixed number. Okay, he bought 1/2 pound of dark chocolate and 3/4 pound of white chocolate. How many pounds of chocolate did he buy? The first step is the lowest common denominator for both fractions is 4. Raise 1/2 to equal fraction with a denominator of 4. Okay, so let's write this out. 1/2 Okay. The lowest common denominator for both fractions is 4. raise 1/2 to equal, oh, I put 1/4. Sorry. Okay, so raise 1/2 to equal the fraction with the denominator of 4. We have to get this to 4. We have to make 2 into a 4. How do we make 2 into a 4? Okay, well, you got the concept, but the process, I want to rework your process. Okay, so we need to raise this to a denominator of 4. Okay, so again, what numbers are in common with 2 and 4? Can 1 go into 2 evenly without a remainder? Can 2 go into 2 without a remainder? Can 2 go into 4 without a remainder? Okay, just to test your theory. Can 3 go into 2? Can 3 go into 4 without a remainder? Okay, so we already know that 2 is our common factor. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this over here. 1/2 minus 3/4. Okay, so in order to make this a 4, the common factor is 2. We have to say 2 times the common factor. 2 is what? 2 times 2 is 4. So now we can write this because we're remaking our number. Replace this with a 4. Now we're going to say 1/4 minus 3/4